I am very aware of my anxieties. I don't like the pity party. I don't like talking about when I don't feel too well. I don't know, I am a little nervous. Just being kind of open about what I struggle with and making it known to other people is a bit nerve-wracking. I remember being really young, I'd say 8, 9, 10, around that time. And I remember having shortness of breath and going to my mom and telling her that. In hindsight, now I know that that was obviously anxiety. I think being overworked and being in the situation that I'm in now is kind of what set it out of control in a way. I've had times where I feel I need to be rushed to the hospital because I think that my heart's failing and I can't breathe and I need someone to help me. Sometimes I think I'm dying. Sometimes parts of my body will go numb and it can be really, intense and scary. I mean, there is going to be those people that say oh, okay, what does she have to worry about? What does she have to be anxious about? And I'll never sit here and say that I'm not fortunate. I know I live a very privileged, amazing lifestyle. I'm a very blessed girl. I still have one of these, you know what I mean? And that thing up there sometimes doesn't always, I don't know, it's not always happy and it's not always connecting and I'm still a human being at the end of the day. And no matter what someone has or doesn't have, it doesn't mean that they don't have real life feelings and emotions.
As a psychologist in private practice here in Los Angeles, I work with people with a wide, I'm what you call a generalist.
Right.
So different people bring in different stuff.
Right.
But the one thing that I would say every single individual that I've ever worked with has brought in is anxiety. One of the most important things I think is to destigmatize all mental health issues, particularly anxiety, because a lot of people think they're alone with this. Like
you kind of said, everyone, I think, suffers from, even if it's just a minimal amount of anxiety. But it is something when someone's oh my God, I have anxiety about this, almost using the term loosely.
Right.
I know what that feels like, and you're using that term lightly, and I'm just
You got to remember, anxiety's on a continuum.
Yeah.
Right? At the milder end, it's probably what these people are saying, oh, I'm feeling this anxiety, but they're getting through the day.
Right.
But it jumps a line, and there's a point at which anxiety gets in the way.
Right.
It makes people more uncomfortable at work. It makes people more uncomfortable in their relationships. It makes people more uncomfortable out of the house.
Right.
They'd actually just as soon stay home
Right.
than deal with the big unknown.
Right.
And they're physically uncomfortable. Their heart's racing. They feel like they're crawling out of their own skin. They feel sick a lot. Everything's scary.
Right.
And when we get to that point, we call it clinically significant anxiety.
Okay.
It's got a name. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Now you know. It sounds like social anxiety is something you had even before the pandemic.
Before, I was really overwhelmed, really overworked. I was always around people, and I kind of got really overwhelmed with all of that to the point where I was I need to be alone. Now it's more okay, we've all been super isolated to the point where I'm almost so used to that, that now that things are slowly opening up, if I go to a dinner or if I see a few more of my friends than I'm used to seeing throughout this last year, that gives me anxiety.
I'm going to give you an analogy. Have you ever been scuba diving?
No, I've been snuba diving.
Okay,
it's similar.
All right. So we'll build up on that a little bit, because when you scuba dive, if you come up too fast, like you come from 20 feet up,
I know this.
You could actually get really sick.
Yeah.
And that's called the bends.
Yeah.
And psychology is similar. Well, from this pandemic, if we go too quickly from being locked in to throwing ourselves right back out there, especially for people with anxiety, they're going to kind of get the psychological bends.
Right.
And they're really going to kind of get rattled.
So you have to ease yourself into it.
Have to ease yourself into it. Right. We're all learning our skills again. We lost.
I know, it's crazy.
Social anxiety has a certain look to it. And people who are socially anxious classically are afraid that not only are people looking at them, that they're criticizing
Judging them,
They're
right.
judging them, and that the socially anxious person feels like they're doing judgeable things,
Right.
or that they're making other people uncomfortable merely by being there. They're
Right.
like, oh, these people are uncomfortable because I'm so awkward.
Yeah.
What happens is over time, because that moment is so hard, even before the person gets into the situation, their heart is racing. They feel sick. The whole experience of even being with people feels so aversive. It's easier to just say, nah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna.
And this is all strictly like mental, right? It's just
all
everything that your brain is like,
It's all.
you're just going down a rabbit hole.
Yep, you're going down a rabbit hole.
Wow.
The
Because
other
it feels so
side, too,
physical,
it feels
is why
so-
I ask you that. It's like, so I've like literally gone to doctors
Right.
because that's how bad it gets for me, to where I'm like, something's literally wrong.
Correct. Panic attacks are the sort of the brick of every anxiety disorder we see, or anxiety experience we see. It's all a miscommunication in the brain. Everything gets ramped up. It's taking the signals from here. Change this,
Yeah.
you change this.
I'm also a hypochondriac, which I don't know if that has any relation to, like, or if it's the cousin of anxiety or something, but I'm like a massive hypochondriac. So, and that's also something that has been a thing since I was really little.
People who are anxious are always monitoring their bodies. It's almost like a Roomba. You're always sort of like wandering around and vacuuming all these thoughts in your body. And so if you even feel like a tiny headache, you're like, oh my God, I have
Yes,
a tumor in my brain.
that's me.
You know,
That is me.
or I have some lung disease, I have to go
Yeah.
get checked out. Anxiety is like a magnifying glass, and it magnifies only the bad things. Every little ping, every
my
little
gosh.
this. And so in essence, what we're trying
so
to do is
true.
take that magnifying glass and put it to being a regular lens, because especially physical sensations, because anxiety is such a physical disorder.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I always want to tell people is that they go together, and that as the anxiety starts getting pulled away, those hypochondriacal thoughts also start coming down because they're a nuisance.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's really an important thing for people
Well,
to
you're
know.
literally, sometimes I'm bad at putting my thoughts into words, and
You're
you're doing it for
doing
me. So these are some written in questions from followers and
Yeah.
viewers. The first question, how do you open up to people about social anxiety?
Tell your nearest and dearest. Like, practice having the conversation with the people you feel safest with. People will say, oh, I did not know that, and thank you for telling me, because I won't push
I
as
can
much.
support you,
I can
and now I'm
support you.
aware, right?
Yes.
Okay, next question. How should I handle anxiety over a loved one who isn't being cautious during COVID? Wow, I feel this.
I've heard this from so many people. If you have a healthy relationship, you can explain your point of view and say, listen, this is concerning me for all these reasons.
Right.
Okay? If the person's still not meeting you halfway, like they really are being difficult, I talk about realistic expectations. You're probably not going to get them to be mask wearing, sanitizer doing, hand washing friend. Then all you can do is keep your side of the street clean.
Right.
Anxiety's gotten a really bad brand, so I want to also say something nice about anxiety. Once upon a time, the anxiety is what made us survive.
Yeah.
The anxious people knew to say, tiger coming, don't
Right.
eat those berries, looks like something bad's happening.
Yeah.
Anxiety kept us safe
Right.
to a degree. And people who are anxious are higher in this personality trait called neuroticism. People who are higher in neuroticism are also sometimes a little bit more aware of other people's stuff too.
I consider it like a beautiful thing in a way.
It is a beautiful thing.
And I like that I am really aware of my body and like my mind. I know it can sometimes get the best of me, but I think that I like that I'm in tune, and I like that I want to know everything.
Anxiety, when it's sort of right in that sweet spot, is a little bit of a superpower, because it actually helps you keep yourself safe, keep others safe, and kind of keep you mentally on point. So there's that perfect sweet spot of anxiety where there's just enough where you're performing at the top of your game and keeping. So we want to get you right at the top.
So we're asking all the doctors that I meet for some tips and tricks that maybe the viewers can take into account of their own life. And apply to their life. So if you have anything, I would love to hear for myself and for all the viewers.
One of the best things a person who's socially anxious can do is prepare. That getting caught, coming late, rushing, that doesn't feel good. So be on time or be a little bit early.
Oh my God, I need to be on time.
Yep,
If I'm not, I freak out.
There you go. So if you can be on time or be a little bit early, even if you're sitting in your car and you're like, perfect, now I'm going to go in, you're less frenzied, and prepare. Learn what you're getting into. Like, How many people are going to be there? What's it going to feel like? Almost mentally rehearse it a little. That helps a lot. So here's the second thing you can take away. A lot of what can help people who are socially anxious is to get good feedback from their audience. So a great way to do it is sort of a 3-point plan for how you can use your body. It's uncrossing I'm going to uncross my legs too. Uncross your arms, okay? Make eye contact and smile.
Cute.
When you do that, you disarm everyone. And interestingly, when I first met you, you did that right away.
Yeah.
And you put me at ease.
Yeah.
So I felt comfortable. Whereas if I'd come in and you were just sort of distant or aloof or remote, I would have felt anxious.
Right.
So that's a dance, and that
Right.
mirrored dance becomes really, it becomes really important.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you
so
so
glad
much,
I got to
Kendal.
sit with you, and I learned a lot today, so thank you.
And I appreciate you sharing your story, because I'm always grateful when people talk about their stories publicly so people can see they're not alone with this, because I think the hardest thing of all is to feel alone. So thank you for doing that.
It does definitely feel like a weight is lifted when I, feel something and I hear someone else saying, oh yeah, I get what you're feeling, or this must be what you're feeling, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like that's exactly what I'm trying to express. And it's that comforting feeling of like, okay, she's either experienced this herself or she knows people that have experienced it, being a doctor who's seen a lot. So it just makes you feel a little, it just makes you feel understood, and that's a really nice feeling. When I think of social media and anxiety, I mean, holy moly, that's like a loaded question. Personally, what's affected my anxiety the most is the amount of negativity that I see. There's just literally too much. Like, I find that the more I'm looking at a screen, the more detached I feel with my own body or to like what's happening right in front of me. My relationship with social media is, a bit addictive right now, which I don't like, and I'm not proud to say that, but I also feel like that's something that probably most of us can relate to. Like, I don't like that I feel the need to have social media in the first place. There really is like no escaping it.
There's plenty of research out there that really demonstrates that social media acts very much like an addiction. It stimulates the same part of the brain as substance use. So when you think about it, you are always looking for that positive reinforcement.
Right.
The idea of what could happen, whether you're gonna get a like or whether somebody's gonna repost you, really keeps you coming back very much like an addiction.
Right. I don't know, is that something just as society we're conditioned from like a very young age to like feel like we need that validation?
That sense of not getting that enough positive reinforcement from our home environment, not feeling rooted, allows us to really look outside of ourselves for a reward. And I think that social media really pulls for that.
It's so interesting that you say that, because a lot of the feedback, if it is negative, that I've ever gotten is like, oh, you're setting a bad example, or this is horrible, that I wouldn't want my kid to see this. Or
what do you think when parents say, for example, to you, when they say, you're setting a bad example for my kids?
I don't know how much you know about my family or us, but there's an assumption of the kind of people that we are or who we are that I could say pretty confidently is pretty inaccurate. I mean, we have a reality TV show, so a lot of people know a lot of our lives, but I think that there's still such a lack of actually knowing our character, who we are.
When you think about even a reality show is going to show the highlights of your life, right? And when somebody really thinks about like keeping up, how do you keep up with the Kardashians, right? It is obviously either can be used as a motivation to be your very best, or it can be used as an impossibility. If somebody's really struggling with identity issues and with confidence issues, the idea of keeping up with this image of somebody that you admire may really seem impossible. And perhaps that's part of the sort of rationale as to why for some folks, you know,
you can check me, by the way. You can totally sit here and be like, this is what people think.
Can you give me an example of a time where you kind of have like would highlight a peak moment of anxiety that is related to social media for you?
Something that like boils my blood, that like really frustrates me and like I think upsets me the most is when it's someone claiming a false narrative for me. The internet, I guess, bases things off of such small moments with no context. They don't know the before or the after, and they'll take that and run with it and then completely judge you based off of this one little thing.
Well, that's the thing. I think there's a certain loss of control of your own sense of self. And I think that people can kind of edit it to their own, to fit their own purpose and to fit their own sense of reality or lack of reality. And then you just become like a canvas upon which people project their own stuff onto. And it's got to be really difficult. I think that that's probably very similar to what children feel when they're bullied online. You know, you post something and then somebody can take something that you might give them and really distort it in such a way that comes back as very aggressive.
You know, I pride myself on being a pretty decent human being. Like, I don't think I'm a bad person or anything, so I'm not saying it's, you know, something actually bad that I would have posted or whatever. It's just, it's something as simple as they didn't like what I looked like in that photo.
And I'm sure that getting that type of feedback does something to you. Does something to your confidence. Even Kendal Jenner, I'm sure, getting that type of feedback does something to you.
100%.
How do you feel when you get sort of that type of critical feedback?
I have moments of feeling like I'm breaking or feeling like I can't take it anymore. Because sometimes it does feel I can never do anything that right sometimes.
You
know what I mean?
Please everybody all the time. So this period of intense anxiety for you, it seems to me it's a perfect example of this sort of separation of yourself. Here's the Kendal at home, little young girl who is now being pushed on the world stage, having to sort of play this role out, knowing that your image is going to be out there for everyone to consume. There's got to be sort of this...
And judge.
So how do you think that has that projection of you in social media, how has that affected your ability to really kind of feel anchored and connected to your, say, authentic self, for lack of a better word?
Right. Well, it's just interesting because there are, first of all, so many images of me on the internet, ones that I'm fine with and ones that I don't necessarily like. You know what I mean? And a lot of the times the ones that I don't like are the ones that get more attention because they're the ones that everyone wants to kind of take and rip apart. So I think that I've become numb to all of that in a way. That took time though, and that took a lot of like talking to myself and you know, hyping myself up. And because of social media, everything is highlighted. Everything is heightened, whether good or bad. I feel like most of my social media anxiety is actually more the overwhelmingness of it all.
Overstimulation, right? Where you realize that our brains are really not designed to be bombarded by all the stimulus that's coming our way all of the time.
Right. What is actually like like what is happening?
What's happening inside our brains, right?
Yes.
I think that, you know, that the sense of overwhelm is very real, and that there's a point in which the brain can no longer process all the information that's coming our way. And so there's an actual shutdown, very similar to what happens in a trauma response. It stimulates that sort of animal impulse of fight, flight, or freeze response. And if we can't process everything that's happening, then we start to freeze and we start to feel like we're no longer in the world. So there is a sense of derealization that happens. And, you know, I think with COVID really keeping young people out of relationships and social interaction,
we don't have that human connection anymore, which I feel like we as human beings need it.
well, that's the ultimate irony, isn't it? That the internet the social media can really allow us to feel like we have millions and millions of friends in the world, when in reality we could be very lonely right at home. And it's this sense that you start to trade your real life for the imagined life. We're constantly being bombarded by a new role model or by a new standard of beauty or by a new a desire that we just can't quite be adequate enough to meet. And I think this is the dangerous part, where a lot of young people really fall into a hurtful clinical depression that oftentimes leads into either self-harm, addiction. We've seen that addiction has really increased during this time, or, you know, worst, suicide.
I feel like it's something that we're now like stuck in. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do we now, there's no reversing.
I hope that one of the things that we learn from this is exactly what you've said, is that there is a need for us to be connected in real time. That kind of content is critical for our well-being. It's part of, it has to be part of our
I think
mental
that's
health.
one of our tips of the day, is go give someone a hug. So something that I'm asking all the professionals on this series is just some, I don't know, tips, tricks, tools that you can kind of, that the viewers can take home with them, or they're probably already home, but take away with them and really apply to their life or their lifestyle.
So I would say probably 4 tips. One is being aware of your intention when you engage in social media. Why are you doing it? Why are you connecting? Recognizing that once you put an image out there, you may not always have control over how that image is going to be consumed. I think third, recognizing that addiction is very real in social media, and that it operates very much like any other addiction. And so setting some limits, appropriate limits and boundaries is really critical. And I would say lastly is set some time for yourself to really socialize with people. Stay connected to those that love you, and really recognize that no human being is an island. We are all, you know, human beings who socialize and need to socialize in order to stay protected.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been thoroughly amazing. I really have enjoyed being here with you.
I think it's interesting because a lot of our conversation about social media was how like overwhelming everything can be. And I think even just talking about it was really overwhelming. Like, it's almost a sense of validation hearing it from a professional or hearing it from a doctor of like, okay, I'm not the only one that's, you know, dealing with these thoughts or emotions, and how invasive it feels like in my life. But it's good to be aware of it all, and it's good to talk about it and kind of let it out, and then now you can be aware, process, and hopefully move forward. I think, you know, when you're in the midst of a panic attack, the reason you're calling someone is, one, because you're scared. You want some sort of comfort. And like, you might also want that distraction. And sometimes you just have to, as their supporter, sit there and ride the wave with them. I was, like I said, really little, and I was experiencing, like, you know, symptoms of anxiety. Not even my mom could tell me, oh, that's anxiety. There's been moments for sure where like even it's me who's freaking out. So I'm like, can't do this, I can't get out of bed today. Like, oh my gosh, I'm having a moment. I can't go to work, like this is impossible. She, will try and support me as a mom, but then she's also, my manager. So then she's like, well, you have to go to work. It can be frustrating sometimes where you're like, but I just wish you could be inside of my body to know exactly what I'm feeling right now and why I physically can't get out of bed right now. I wanted to specifically talk to you today about how to be a better ally to people in your inner circle who may suffer from anxiety.
Absolutely. Well, I think first of all, we need to recognize that anxiety is really common.
Right.
It's sort of our body's response to something that makes us afraid. It's a threat. But I think the way to help as an ally is to first recognize when someone's having what would be considered usual anxiety and when it moves into where it's problematic and it interferes with their ability to function.
Like you just said, recognizing when this might be something that you guys can just kind of deal with on your own, or if it's something that might need to be taken to a more serious level.
Well, let's take a moment to kind of break down anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm a psychiatrist, so I think about these things very methodically. So let's start with the physical. A person might have an elevated heart rate or heart palpitations, shortness of breath, just a sense of, my body's kind of on supercharged. You're just going really rapidly. You might feel dizzy or lightheaded.
Right.
And sometimes people just feel as if they may be having a heart attack or about to have a seizure. And then there are the psychological components. Fear that I'm going crazy, fear that something bad is going to happen. And then there might be these sort of obsessive thoughts about things that have happened in the past, overgeneralization, overthinking, and it just gets into this kind of a track where your brain just can't get off that thinking. And then that might affect behaviors. So when anxiety is around for a long time, we notice that people start isolating, they start avoiding things, they may not want to go out. I know that, your experience in terms of going out on the catwalk or being on an airplane, all of those things that normally we just do without thinking, for the person who's had a panic attack in that situation, it takes them back there. So
hearing that those are normal in the anxiety world, to feel those things, it comforts you a little bit.
And as more people come out and talk about their mental health problems or their anxiety, the more the public is aware that, hey, this is a real thing. But especially during the recent pandemic.
Maybe normal wasn't the right word.
We try to avoid that, but sometimes, it's just, it normalizes it.
Exactly.
And since more people are talking about it, both on social media and in conversations, people are open about the fact that they're in treatment. Again, it's so common and so many people suffer from it, but only about maybe a third of people truly get help.
For me personally, I've never gotten into medication, but I'm sure at a certain level, it's necessary for some people, no?
Well,
Depending.
Medication is a choice.
Right.
And people that have minor anxiety to moderate anxiety, I certainly recommend that you should try having some type of routine.
Right.
There are things that you can do like meditation, going for a walk, having a nice hot bath or chamomile tea, even going for a jog. Sometimes getting exercise really helps. But there does get to a certain point, at least in my department, where we see folks who their anxiety is so crippling and they might have a more serious illness like obsessive compulsive disorder or generalized anxiety disorder where they can't function. If it gets to the point where you can't get out of bed, you can't face the public, or you can't go out of your house, then it might be time to talk to someone, and maybe a medical doctor is one of those people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, every medication that a psychiatrist prescribes has both benefits and side effects.
Right.
And one of the unfortunate things is that some of these medications, they can be habit forming. And so it's an important conversation to have with a professional. Is this the right thing for me to do? And then to do it under close supervision.
Totally.
I know that you probably mentor some younger folks in the business. What things do you observe in them when they're having anxiety?
It's so interesting because my sister actually came to me 2 days ago and was talking to me about it, because she was like, lately I've been having shortness of breath and I've been getting tingly and numb. She was expressing all these feelings she had had, and it's so interesting being on the other side of it and really feel like, okay, I can understand you and I can sit here and do what I would hope someone would do for me if I was on that end of it.
Well, that's a great story. And when you experience someone else's anxiety through their eyes and you put it through your lens and telling them, hey, I've had this, it'll get better. Tell them what things you did and try to help them find their personal cure.
I think that's something that's not maybe as talked about is anxiety in a workplace. whether it be, you know, a general environment that feels very anxious, or even just if you're personally feeling it and you feel like you want to go talk to your boss about it.
And it depends on the workplace. Certainly in smaller workplaces, there isn't like a big HR, human resources department to go to get help. But I think if you witness it in a coworker, the first thing is to let them know, hi, I see something's changing. We need to work as a team here. Is there something that I can talk with you about? You need to realize that you're not necessarily their therapist. And if it is going to your boss, I try to have people frame it through a medical condition. Like, I have anxiety, especially if it's something that's been diagnosed and that's ongoing. I might need to have accommodations because it is one of those illnesses that's covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Oh, really?
So in the workplace, there are certain things like giving people more time, giving people more space, coming up with hybrid alternatives.
So I have some questions from our audience. The first question, how do you get older generations to understand anxiety and validate one's feelings?
Anxiety stretches across all generations.
Yeah.
It might manifest itself in different ways. So when you start talking across generational lines, I think it's just important to try to find a common language and talking about your experience of fear, your experience of uncertainty, of disappointment. Those are things that people of all ages should be able to relate to.
Yeah. Okay, question 2. What advice can you share for maintaining friendships in which you are both mentally ill?
I think it can be really helpful that you support each other and not be judgmental of each other. But I think you have to be cautious that you don't try to fix each other and help that person get to the right assistance when you feel like it's beyond your ability.
Well, thank you so much. I think the last thing that I would love to hear from you, and something that we're doing with the professionals that come in here, is just getting some tips or tricks or something that the viewers can kind of apply to their lives at home.
So one technique that I like to advise people to try is called box breathing.
Okay.
And it's breathing where you focus on a visual, where you draw a box in your mind. Want to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay. So just close your eyes.
Okay.
And then we're going to draw a box up as you breathe in, as you inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then pause, draw a line across. 1, 2. And then we're going to draw a box line down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause, and then draw another line. 1, 2. And then pause, draw a line up. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just kind of keep cycling through drawing those lines and boxes.
I like that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, it gets you to focus on the breath.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out that as much as we've talked about being a good ally, being a good friend and a helper, it's important to remember that when things get beyond your abilities, don't be afraid to either yourself or someone else to call for help. You can start by finding a licensed therapist or a counselor, talking to your family doctor, your primary care doctor, or even going to resources online where you look for your insurance company's provider carrier number, call them up, or call a helpline to just get some assistance.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and teaching me some things.
Well, thank you for the opportunity and for doing this.
I loved Dr. Bonds. He is amazing. I just wanted to give him a hug. I thought he was so awesome. I thought it was really interesting that he had said how overwhelming it can be for the person who's trying to be the caretaker for someone who's experiencing mental illness. And he is that. And he said himself, he's like, I suffer from anxiety too. So at some point you have to, you know, you can help as many people as you want, but you also have to remember to check in on yourself. Hey guys, it's Kendall. I am so excited to be back for my second Beauty Secrets video with Vogue. I did my last one almost 4 years ago and I was just a little baby, and my routine has completely changed since then. So I'm excited to show you guys my new routine. I obviously look really crazy. I have this avocado mask on that I make myself in my kitchen. and it's super fun to make and super easy. I put an avocado in a bowl and then mash it up with some oatmeal. This superfood honey, I got it from Courtney, so I'm assuming it's really good and natural. And then this organic lavender oil, I just drop a drop or two into it, and that's pretty much it. It's really easy, feels really nice, and it moisturizes you, makes you glowy. And when I'm trying to give my skin a little extra love, I have this amazing Puregenics collagen mask. I love it so much, and I keep it in the refrigerator. Right now I have it in this bowl of ice, along with my roller thingies that I'll use in a sec. I really like to roll over the mask. Get it under your eyes, especially like if I have really early work or a really early show, I throw this on. My skin definitely feels like it acts up a bit more during fashion month, just cause like so much is going on. They're like putting so much makeup on you and using a ton of product. So I've gotten like really gnarly rashes just from like probably someone using the same brush on me and another girl at the end of a lineup, and they're just rushing all this powder onto you. So I'm really like, you know, OCD now about my skin, what I let touch my face during fashion week. Sometimes I'll take it and like clump it into a ball and rub the extra. Let it sit for a sec. Now I am going to just rinse my face. I love this cleanser. It is by Christy Kidd. It's called Clean. I have always been super into my skin, especially when I was about like 14 and started breaking out. I started like really, you know, getting into skincare, and I remember I would go to like the pharmacy with my mom and get all these like, probably not great products, and I've just been really into it for so long just because I have had acne prone skin. So for me, it's just like something that was an obvious thing I felt I needed to get into, and seeing my own skin journey has taught me so much. So yeah, I've kind of come up with this regimen and this routine that really works for me. It's been really, really okay since. I mean, I obviously am human. I have my breakouts here and there, but yeah, it's been so much better than what it was before, but it was brutal for a moment. I wear sunscreen every day. I use this Elta MD Clear. I just use a little bit, and then I sometimes mix it. Honestly, most days I mix it with this SkinCeuticals serum, 4 to 5 drops. Mix it around, get it on there. I mean, clearly I love it. It's like nearly gone. This Mario Badescu green tea cucumber aloe spray. I love these exfoliating makeup wipes for my lips just before I put on makeup. So I like scrub my lips to get all the dead skin off. I was trying to figure out for so long why my skin was breaking out. Was it hormones? Was it what I'm eating? Am I allergic to something? Am I using the wrong products? And once I felt like I got my regimen down, I knew that it wasn't what I was putting on my face. I started thinking about my diet a lot and decided to cut out dairy. Not entirely. I love cheese, so it's hard for me to cut out cheese. And that honestly helped me so much. And I drink tons of water, as much as I can or remember to. So after I scrub with my exfoliating makeup wipe, I love this Kylie Skin lip mask. I put it on while I'm doing my makeup, and then once I'm done and ready to move on to like doing my lipstick, I wipe it off. My last step before I do my makeup is this La Mer cream. And now I am ready to do my makeup. This is what I would do if I'm like going out to dinner or, you know, doing something a little more than just like running out the house really fast, but still pretty natural. I'm like, I love a natural look. It just works for me. So yeah, this is the foundation that I use. It's just Chanel. I don't love to feel like I have too much on. I think the lighter the better, just some good light coverage. I was a huge tomboy when I was younger, so I didn't wear makeup like I'd say as much as Kylie did, but I still loved to play around with it and was honestly never that good. And then as I got older and like through my job and through just like seeing how people do my makeup, you learn so much about like what looks good on you and what doesn't. So yeah, when I'm done applying with this really soft brush, I use my beauty blender. All these different colors. I usually go for this guy and this guy. Mix them up a bit. I'm like so not a professional. You'll see all the differences between like me and Kylie. Kylie's like a legit professional, and I'm like, you know what, this works. I literally can do my makeup in like 15 minutes or less, 20 tops. And so Kylie and I are very different because she is like, you know, full beat, but I respect it. She takes a lot longer, but you know what, she looks fire. So I've seen like some magical moments though where she gets ready pretty quickly. Bronzer time. So I usually start with like a creamy bronzer, and I love obviously my Kendal by Kylie Cosmetics. I just like to be able to apply it like a marker. So I kind of just draw it on, and then I take this big kind of stiff brush and blend it all in. We have one too many steps when it comes to bronzer. I'm like all about like a non-perfect beat, like it just works. My biggest fear is like putting on bronzer and having like lines on my face because I didn't blend it enough, or a line down here. So I love to like make sure it's all blended in well. It's a blessing and a curse to grow up in the spotlight because it has not always been cute, and I have not always known what to do or what the right makeup move is. So I've definitely had some probably not hot moments. Okay, and then sometimes, this is a nice double-sided brush. Sometimes I'll take the small side after I contour my nose a little bit and I'll go in over my. I'm gonna go in with my blush. I love creams first because like I said, I love like a dewy look. So I just think using like creams makes everything even dewier. No real rules here. And then I'm gonna go in with this really dewy Marc Jacobs creamy highlighter. I go in with my finger. Also, I think if I could only live with two makeup products, it would be highlighter and bronzer. I've just lived such an awesome life when it comes to like getting like the craziest makeup, hair and makeup looks. Like I've been transformed into so many things. I'd say some of my favorite transformations when I do Marc Jacobs, like whether it's a campaign or a show, he's just so awesome. Like he just has the best, most amazing ideas. Now that I've kind of done all my dewiness, I go in with a little bit of powder. I like this MAC, just like pressed powder. I use the little MAC spongy thing, and literally all I do is I go in right here under my eyes, around my nose, chin, and forehead. And I just leave it at that. Like I like to be dewy, like I said, so I really just kind of work around the places that I just put that shine. I love this Estee Lauder Bronze Goddess powder. So I go in over top of everything that I just did, just to add even more. Growing up, my mom had this like lucite makeup, this clear lucite makeup cabinet thing sitting on her like vanity, and Kylie and I would go in all the time and like play with her stuff and just be messy. And she only when she wasn't home, because I feel like when she came home she'd get really mad at us for like messing up all her stuff. And my mom always said growing up, she's like, never look in this magnifying mirror because you're gonna see things that no one sees and then you're gonna start picking. And then she ended up getting rid of hers, and she was like, the best gift you can give like an ex-boyfriend who was like mean to you is one of these makeup mirrors, because then they'll just go and they'll just make themselves break out because they just touch it so much. I am now moving on to a powder blush, and I really love this little Stormy collection from Kylie Cosmetics. I definitely am so obviously proud of my sisters. It makes so much sense for both Kim and Kylie to have these lines. Like it is who they are and literally what they've always loved. I'm gonna brush my brows out now. I don't do too much to my brows, to be honest. I've finally gotten to a good place with them. Back to the Estee Lauder Bronze Goddess bronze powder. And just put a little of that on my eyes. Sometimes this Bronze Goddess powder isn't dark enough for my eyelids, so I use this Serge Lutens bronze powder for my eyes. I kind of apply in like little circles almost around, like on my whole eyelid. Like I go for the middle first and then I'll come out to the ends a little bit right in here. But because I'm not using like a super dark color, it makes my life a lot easier. So there's not really too much messing up I can do. You just kind of blend it all in nicely. And then I will take Kevyn Aucoin brown eye pencil. So it's gonna look a little bit of a mess right now, and then we'll see how magical it gets. All right, so I did just a little bit smudgy on the ends. Put a little bit of brown pencil, smudged it all out, so you don't even really, it just kind of creates that little like darker effect right there. And then now I'm going to take whatever is like kind of left on the spongy side that I just used this for and just go in under just to make this slightly darker. Now I'm going to curl my lashes, which is never cute. I don't really have a technique. My lashes are just really long, so I have to like get them all in there. When anyone does my makeup, it's the one thing I kind of have to do myself. Just cause like I feel like I've mastered it almost, cause my lashes tend to, like I have good lash days and bad lash days. Like these are all my natural lashes, but sometimes they're just wacky and they don't want to follow instruction. So I have to kind of get in there and tell them what to do. I'll go in with my Armani mascara. Lashes. One of the best parts is my lip. I feel like I'm incomplete without a lip now, and if you would have told me 4 years ago that I would have said that, I would have been like, you're crazy. I would never say that. I never used to wear lipstick, and now I like can't leave the house without, well, that's a lie. I can leave the house without it, but it completes a look. So I have these two different ones. This is our secret concoction, so you're welcome. This is the Kevyn Aucoin medium, and then the Giorgio Armani. There's a 12, so I'm assuming that's the name. I love a good plumpy lip, so I usually slightly overline. I take the lighter one and I kind of go in the middle. I slightly like blend the outer line into the middle. Super nice, not too non-natural color. I take my Kendal, it's called a lip blush. It's really nice. And I honestly just do like a little dab right in the middle to just even out. I use the liner as a lipstick pretty much. Like I'll line it, then put it in the middle, and then I'll use like the littlest bit of this lip blush just to like kind of even everything out. And it just feels really nice. And then I go over top of it with another Kendal Kylie product. I'm telling you, we made all of our products based on like what I actually use. So it's like so nice and so convenient. So I use this, it is so like, what? It's like, it's so thick and good and it lasts all night. Like you could put it on once and it lasts all night. I have a bad habit of like rubbing my lips together all the time. So I tend to have to reapply, but it really does. And I love like a good bratty lip, so that's why I love like a gloss. I think also glosses like make your lips look a little bigger than they actually are, so. This is kind of me. And then I'll usually like go in last minute because I just am a bronze obsessed. Throw a little bit more on. My KKW Beauty Bronze and Shine palette. So I use this one. It's a brand new one. I used my other one fully, but I use this guy even on top of, like I usually go in with the creamy, you know, bronze, blush, shine, and then at the end I go in with the powder shine, powder bronze, powder blush, and then I'm like pretty set to go. All right guys, so this is my final look. Thank you so much for watching my amateur makeup tutorial. I had such a nice time. Thanks for having me, Vogue. Bye. I'm Kendal. I'm just gonna do my everyday makeup for you guys. You have to believe that I'm doing all of this myself. Double Wear Nude, Estee Lauder. I don't really like to put too much on because I hate when I have like cakey makeup on. I've done my makeup in cars, in porta potties. I'm not kidding. We're getting there, guys, we're getting there. I usually pluck them. Sometimes I wax, but only under. When I was like 14, I think at the moment like having really thin eyebrows was a cool thing. So I literally plucked them all off. I had like a line of an eyebrow. My sisters yelled at me. They throw all the tweezers in the house. I've never touched them myself ever since. My favorite part, I kind of pinch it to make it even thinner. I learn a lot from being on set. What taught me most about how to do my own makeup is just my own face and finding out what looks good on me and what doesn't. I usually just take my bronzer and do a tiny bit of eyeshadow. I don't do a ton, and I'll do it like mainly at the root. I swear no one ever looks cute putting on makeup. You really want my beauty secrets? I use grilled cheese oil on my face. I don't fully put lipstick on. I like take it and I like dab it, and then I dab it. Just to like enhance my own color. I like having gloss rather than just matte, and if I don't have gloss, I use like chapstick or something. And then I'm done. Honestly, this is as good as it's gonna get for my hair. I'm not a great hairstylist. I'm learning though, I really am. I've actually, no, never mind, you guys don't care. I'm not, it's me every day. Cool.
Hey, Kendal Jenner.
Hi.
I came here to ask you 73 questions very, very quickly.
Let's do it, come on in.
All right. So, here we are in the home you grew up in.
Yeah.
How often do you hang out here?
Not too often anymore.
What's your favorite memory in this home?
Sneaking out late.
What's your favorite holiday to celebrate in this home?
Christmas.
Okay. What is the most absurd nickname that someone has ever given you?
Killa, but I haven't been called that since high school.
What was your first job?
Dog walking.
What's something about you that you wish more people focused on?
My ass.
What scares you the most?
Losing someone.
What angers you the most?
Delayed flights.
What makes you laugh the most?
My friend Tyler.
What's your favorite curse word? What is going on there?
Mom, what are you doing?
I'm doing a major renovation to your room, but what should I make it into?
A planetarium.
So, what is modeling really like?
A dream come true.
Where's one place you like to go and not be recognized?
The beach.
Okay, so this is your mother's closet. Wow, that is an abundance of shoes.
Yeah.
What's the precise number of shoes in that closet?
73, but only sneakers.
That's a good number. Best fashion tip you learned from your mom?
Always to take care of my things.
What is your must-have beauty product?
Red lipstick.
What's the worst beauty trend you've ever tried?
Plucking my eyebrows too much.
What's the worst fashion trend of all time?
Wedge sneakers.
What's your morning beauty ritual?
Drinking tons of water and brushing my teeth.
What's your spirit animal?
Tupac Shakur.
Kendall, let's do a quick touch-up.
Hi, okay.
Do you have a secret beauty tip?
Drinking tons of water.
Do you have a secret hobby?
Photography.
Do you have a secret?
If I told you, it wouldn't be a secret anymore.
Okay, good to go.
What's the most expensive thing you've ever splurged on?
My vintage car.
What do you wear when nobody's watching?
Nothing.
What is your favorite thing you've ever worn?
Anything a little controversial.
Okay, here's an onslaught of sister questions.
Okay.
Who is your favorite sister right now?
Chloe.
Who's your favorite to pose with at this current moment?
All of them.
Who is the funniest sibling and why?
I think Kylie, because she's super sarcastic.
Who is the craziest sibling and why?
Drunk or sober?
Who is the neediest sibling and why?
None of us. We're all super independent women.
Which sister's closet would you love to raid?
Kim, always.
What's one thing only you know about Kim?
She can do almost anything with her toes.
What's it like being an aunt?
Great, because I can give them back.
If Kim has another kid, what should she call him or her?
South?
Can you name 4 other names that start with K?
Kat, Katie, Karen, Cassandra.
That works. Favorite movie of all time?
The Notebook.
What movies made you cry the hardest and laugh the hardest?
Cry the hardest, Marley and Me, and laugh the hardest, Bridesmaids.
Okay, you can only dance to one song for the rest of your life. What song is it?
Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, of course.
If you joined the Spice Girls, what would your name be?
Kitten Spice.
If your life was a song or movie, what would the title be?
It ain't as easy as it looks.
Okay. What is the craziest time you've ever had with Gigi?
One time we were in Cannes and pulled an all-nighter and ended up in Monaco.
What is your nickname for Gigi?
Ouija.
Using the fewest words possible, can you explain to me how you are related to Gigi?
So her stepdad is my half-brother's stepdad, ex-stepdad. Does that make sense?
Not at all.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Do you read internet comments?
No.
What's the funniest thing you've ever read about yourself on the internet?
That I'm having Justin Bieber's spirit child.
What do you want to say to your fans?
I love you.
All right. What's the story behind this Instagram photo?
This is me getting ready for an event with my stylist and my seamstress in some sick boots.
What's the story behind this Instagram photo?
This is me and my sisters at my sister's baby shower having some sister time.
What's the story behind this Instagram photo?
This is my always mood.
Will you post a selfie of you and me on your Instagram?
No, let's go to the pool.
Name one thing you cannot live without.
Pasta.
Kendall,
Hi.
I just had a baby. What should I do to celebrate?
Maybe go hang out with your wife.
What TV show would you kill to make a cameo in?
The Bachelorette.
Do you have a favorite episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians?
Yeah, probably the one where I did prosthetics with my sisters.
Would you ever do a spin-off?
No, I like working with my family too much.
What are 3 things you look for in a man?
Confidence, good sense of humor, and great style.
Who did you have a crush on when you were younger?
Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
All right, what was your first memory?
Me running down the halls in my house in a little leopard coat.
Who would make you totally starstruck?
Angelina Jolie, of course.
All right, favorite place to visit that's not a home?
Palm Springs.
Do you have a hidden talent?
Yeah, I can make bird noises.
Prove it.
Kendall, get your ass in here.
What was the name of your first pet?
Harley. Yes, Mom. What's up?
Well, I finished your planetarium and wanted to know what's the most embarrassing thing that your mom's ever done?
Maybe this, all your magazines. Love you.
Love you.
If you had to choose another career, what would you do?
Probably working on a farm somewhere.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I'm a weirdo, I'm motivated, and I'm jet lagged.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Gosh, probably to be invisible whenever I want it to be.
What's the biggest surprise you've ever had?
Maybe when one of my sisters got pregnant, or when Kanye proposed to Kim.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Treat people the way you want to be treated.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Don't wear that.
What do you hope for by the time you're 30?
Happiness, love, and a family.
What are you doing immediately after this interview?
Going to the gym, this body doesn't do it itself.
All right, last question. Before I leave, can I film you with some crazy filters on your face?
Thought you'd never ask.
Okay, so here you are with some insane eyeballs. And let's see what else we have. Looks like you have a beard now.
Okay.
Do that bird thing again.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough.
That's
I'm going now.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Oh, there's so many stresses. This game is gonna freak me out. I have a basketball obsession. It's really embarrassing.
Kendall, can we get ready for the Met Ball?
It's the NBA final.
Yeah, great.
So I want my butt to feel like it's just like scooped in here. Does that make sense? Like you can go like pretty tight. I'm good with tightness. Is that, see how that's rippling? Is that because we pinned it?
Hey, that way.
Hey! We were like, he's gonna answer the phone. He's gonna be like, what's up? It looks so beautiful and like sleek.
The pads, everything's good.
Everything's perfect. It's so rad. Yeah, it'll be awesome. I love it. Thanks, Verge. Yes! They scored.
How many Met Balls have you done? Just
This is 5.
5. Okay.
How crazy.
What was the first one? Who did you wear?
I went with Topshop. It was cute. It was 5 years ago.
Were you so excited?
I was really excited. It's really happening. Look at you. You look so fly.
You look really
This
good.
is the best. Oh, that's a photo.
Bye, guys. Hi, welcome. You don't really got time for things during Fashion Week. What are you doing?
I just got off work.
As you can tell, we're doing a really natural eye today.
Call me back.
Kendall here from Mark.
Your eyes are so beautiful.
Ever.
Oh my god.
You know, modeling is such a sport. I don't know why it's not in the Olympics. My dad told me he ate pancakes every morning before the Olympics. Clear the runway. I'm opening the show. You can close it. Should I put things in my boobs? Because you don't need them and I do, and I need to keep up with you.
My boobs are small right now. They get really big when like it's that time of the month. Kendall's so difficult that she needed her agent to come here for our hangout. What are these? Kendall has the most beautiful second toe.
It's so long.
It's like a finger.
Oh my god. That was a really powerful pony. I look hot with a unibrow.
How do you walk in these?
You have to get the boots. What are you doing? The whole point is the boots.
Hey!
You brought me the
No idea you had a nipple ring. Put some clothes on. Not that I'm one to talk, because I'm always naked.
I like my outfit.
I actually really do.
I'm extremely comfortable, which kind of scares me because there's a lot of people around.
It feels so good. I haven't worn heels in months.
This phone doesn't work. It's awesome, but I think they're sending us to rehearsal.
All right, guys, been with me all day. I'm done. Get out now. No, really, get out now.
Leave. Leave. Bye.